Hi, guys. I was so nervous. I don't know why, but I was so nervous. I had a lot of difficulty typing, which is weird if you know me. And I think the reason that I was so nervous is because this is a topic that is really tough for me and for a lot of us. And the reason that this topic was so important to talk about as I get comfy is because it is difficult. And as you know, that's my shtick, talking about stuff that's difficult. So I obviously like inflammatory titles, and I totally created the title to be inflammatory. The title being Why Women in Business Are Never Going to Make as Much as Men. I'm going to see if I can open my window. No, I can't. So women are never going to make as much as men because I can't even open my window. Let me lower my air. Yeah, so that was it. Pretty much women are not going to make as much as men because I'm not smart enough to open my window. The end. Thanks for stopping by. Here's the thing. It's not that I actually think that we're never going to make as much as men. It's that I think we need to have the, I'm going to say, balls to do what men do, and we haven't been brought up in that way. We haven't been trained in that way for a bunch of reasons. So the first is biology. Biology is working against us because we have the womb. You know, the whole hunter-gatherer thing, and women can do anything, equal versus equivalent, that's kind of bullshit. We're not equal in that way because we can't be. Like, they can't carry the baby, so they do have to do that. So historically, societally, caveman days-y, we were not the workers. We were like the stay home and take care of people, babies and whatnot. I wonder if we had to clean our caves. If not, that would have been a great time to live, because I don't clean jack shit. But there is a biological reason that is against us, a biological reason that we are not prepared to fight and work and war in the same way that men are. Does biology determine our fate? No, but we have to acknowledge it before we move on. Another thing that factors into this is society. Wait, I forgot to say this. I am referring to two genders, binary, whether it be gender identification or sex or sexual identification, but not sexual preference. For the purpose of this conversation, I am not going to use they, them, or anything. I do not mean that as a disrespect issue. I mean that as a simplicity issue. And although I think that gender identity is much more complicated, it doesn't serve today because I think that there are not, if I were giving this talk 20 years from now, I think there would be a lot more people falling into that non-binary category, and I would have to choose my words differently. But for now, these are my words, and I apologize in advance if I offend anyone. That's not my intention. My intention is just to make a point that is important, that is not the question of binary gender. So we have biology, we have vaginas. That means that's where the baby goes or comes out or something. Probably both. And I know it's a uterus, it's not the point. We also have this Disney princess that dances through all of our heads. And if you ever notice, the Disney princesses are always like nice and breathy, and they like, ah, and, okay, I've got a horrible voice. Should have brought in my kid. But we're kind of told that we should be nice. Girls are supposed to be nice. If you look at all of the popular common childhood diagnoses, time and time again, girls will get, a boy is rarely going to get targeted by a teacher or a social worker or school psychologist for being depressed because boys usually act out in anger. Boys also usually present ADHD with the hyperactivity, and therefore girls are less likely to get diagnosed with ADHD because of that. society looks at us differently. Never mind the pinks and the purples, or the boy clothes or the girl clothes. We are taught from a very early age that there are certain things that boys do well and certain things that girls do well. And I think that, yes, we reward our children for, stepping outside of those norms if you're a girl and it's a little step, but, or if you're a boy and it's a little step like kissing a boo-boo. But in general, we have been brought up to believe that there's a right and a wrong way for genders to behave. And that sucks, but it's life. And it made sense way back when, but it doesn't make sense now necessarily. We as women are shitty at aggression. Let me explain. When you're studying aggression or the aggression research that has been developed, there is a huge gender difference in how it is portrayed and expressed. So men mostly use overt aggression, which is kind of the better thing if you think about it, because like if a guy's angry, you get in a fight, you got like basically you throw punches, you move the fuck on. As long as there's no weapons, this is usually a short period of time. It's not like West Side Story, jets, sharks. You aggress your anger, your frustration, your negative emotions, and then you get to move on. Whereas girls are less likely to fight in that aggressive way, probably because of societal norms, acceptances, etc. But we are still pretty fucking aggressive. It's just covert. It's subtle. We talk behind each other's back. We screw each other over. We whisper negative things. We steal boyfriends. I hate groups of girls. I mean, it's taken me a while to like any girls because I just have this fear of these like clattering nails. And my fear is well-based in science because we really are kind of the meaner gender. We just express it differently. Like if you guys are going to kill someone, you're going to kill someone. If we're going to kill someone, we're going to like misery the fuck out of them. And so women turn on each other. It's our way of establishing dominance, but it's subtle and it's not easily detected by an outsider, although everyone in that group of women knows damn well what's going on. So women in business are trying to screw each other over rather than just trying to do a better job than the other person. This is not all women all the time, but I can see those of you that are listening, and so far none of you are dumb or foolish or whatnot. So I don't mean black and white for any of this. Women actually aggressively work against each other in business. Research shows that women don't want to promote other women because it somehow seems to decrease their standing. You would think, one woman would want to like pull each other up the mountain so we can all succeed. But in fact, that's not the case. That's not how it works. And it is called, I looked it up, it's called vertical segregation, which really is confusing until I thought about the mountain idea. And then I realized that it's true. There can only be one person on the top of the mountain. Maybe the reason that essential oils and all those other pyramid schemes, MLM companies are so successful is because you really have to step on another woman to get to the top. And if that's the way to succeed, it's got to be short term because people don't forget who screws them over, in my opinion. Another thing working against women is something called occupational segregation. This we've actually already discussed, but there's a fancier word, and I thought I'd tell you it just in case you ever get really bored and want to talk about this at a cocktail party. Occupational segregation is, in sum, it's that whole thing that just came up a few years ago regarding girls and math. Subtly or non-subtly, overtly or covertly, women are, if you ask a math question, teachers, regardless of gender, regardless of age, are more likely to call on a boy than a girl. And if you ask a reading question or language arts or whatever we're calling it, teachers are more likely to call on a girl than a boy. This is just proof of how embedded in our society and in ourselves these stereotypes are. It's been a long time coming. if we can, trace like gender identity, sexism, whatever, back to the caveman era, then yeah, this is a lot to undo. And as it turns out, which I don't know if it's a coincidence or if it is an evil plot by some, government agency or something deeper. I'm thinking the Terminator company, but I can't remember the name. But it is the male-dominated industries that pay more money, that have higher salaries. If you think about it, tech is mostly men. Yes, there's a push to make it not men, which is, or not as much men, and that's fantastic. What else? Tech used to be medicine. Now we're trying to undo that. But women don't sort of seek out those positions as much. And in part, I think that's because women are busy having babies or staying home, or they're aware of their maternity leave, or they're aware of their upcoming desire to have a baby. And by the way, no big surprise. Women don't get paid as much because they don't work as much, but also employers 100% consciously and unconsciously are not as willing to hire a woman if it's a long-term project, or if she's of a certain age, or if she's married, because they have to take the reality into account that this woman may or may not want to have children, and this may or may not take away from their business, which whole different discussion. But I feel like I never thought about having or not having children, whereas now, the 30-somethings, the 20-somethings, even the 40-somethings, they are thinking about this. So should the same gender rules apply? No, because just because you're a female and you have the ability to have a child does not currently today mean that you will make that decision. Still, I think this is a subconscious bias, and it's not just my thoughts. I did a ton of research, and holding up a piece of paper proves it. I did a ton of research in this, and so I can actually validate. And if anyone's interested in hearing the exact studies, I don't know why you would be, but if you want to, I'm happy to send you all my show notes or whatever we'll call them after. So here's some kind of odd statistics to keep in mind. Men who earn more money are actually less likely to get divorced. Women who earn more money are less likely to be married. So go ahead, ladies, be as successful as you want. You can work your ass off, but somehow you're not going to get the man. Why? Maybe you can't have it all. I don't know why, but it's a statistic that has been proven time and time again. Maybe you come off as too aggressive, and that's not a judgment. That's a sort of tongue-in-cheek remark. But for some reason, our financial and career success affects our desirability as a woman. So in reality, I should count my blessings, my Disney princess blessings, that as a doctor with postdoc education and all this other stuff, someone agreed to marry me, because this definitely feels like it's some sort of weird ass olden times, corset and girdle thing. But it is true. Men who earn more money, are more desirable, more likely to be married, and less likely to get divorced. And women, the greater the success you have in business, the less likelihood you will be married. Let's see. I'm reading. Also, interestingly, and related to that, if you look at the statistics on infidelity and what happens after, if a man cheats, X amount of years later, they're 61% likely to still be married. Not judging, observing. If a woman cheats, she's 44% likely to still be married. We judge men and women differently in business, in our bedroom, in our, under our chuppah or chapel or whatnot. Even today, and even so the mental health field is largely dominated by females. My husband's a psychologist also, and it's weird because, he's always the one man in a room full of women. But guess how much more money men make, male psychologists make, than women? Anyone have any ideas? It's weird because it's Facebook Live. You could guess, but I don't know where you'd get the numbers. So in the health services, which is defined as like not research and not school. So basically anyone who's actually providing therapy for any group or individual falls into that range. In the health services, on average, a female psychologist will earn $40,000 more, or $40,000 less. More would be great. Then I wouldn't need this at all. $40,000 less than her male counterpart. Maybe this is just in the health services. Maybe there's not a pattern there, right? No, actually, female psychologists in education earn $15,000 to $20,000 less. And in research, it's $33,000 less, which, by the way, I have a feeling that the research stats are skewed because I think an entirely female research team would be more rare. And so I think that those stats have to be skewed because I imagine that the research, the difference in what a male researcher and a female researcher make in psychology is probably higher than the 40,000 of those of us that are actually helping people. This is interesting. Overall, what Psychology Today, I believe it is, did a survey in 2015 about how much, a male psychologist, so super vague, makes in an average, year. Well, on all psychologists. So males overall make a minimum of $11,000 more. If you're white, a white male, you can add another $17,000 to that. And if you were disabled, oddly, you can add another $15,000. So we're rewarding something, but I'm not sure it's work ethic or quality, because otherwise these stats wouldn't be so clear cut. And by the way, just to reiterate, women make up 75% of psychologists. I thought about including social workers, et cetera, but I have to tell you, I think that the mental health field overall is probably pretty similar. And the numbers were so clear cut that there wasn't much area for like a statistical error. Overall, the gender pay gap between males and females is somewhere between 78 to 82%. That's a pretty big difference. And this is overall across the world. Also, there's something called an adjusted gender pay gap, and then, I don't know, like a not adjusted gender pay gap. I chose to use the adjusted because the adjusted gender pay gap takes into account the fact that women may or may not work as much as men. If you have a baby, if you go on maternity leave, if you go part-time after you have children, whatever it is. So I think that's relevant because there was a time in my life when I wondered if a woman should get paid as much as a man if, her employee had to factor in child care, child emergencies, maternity leave, etc. I don't feel that way now because I can see the statistics that say there's still a huge gender pay gap, even adjusted, even taking into account the things that should be taken into account. Hours spent at the job, time off, perhaps even what an employer pays, for a paid maternity leave. By the way, side note, in Canada, mat leave, as they call it, is 1 year, and it can be split between parents however they choose. It's like the worst thing that has come out of my new friendships with Canadians, but I love them. The worst country for the gender pay gap is actually South Korea, which I'm like, okay. I'm not looking for a lot from South Korea. No offense, South Korea. I'm just not looking for the same equality I would like to find in other places. The best are Italy, Belgium, and New Zealand. America's not doing so well. I mean, we're like close enough to Canada, but they're still better than us because of that mat leave. But our number falls, I guess, in like the worst 50%, but like somewhere right in the middle. We're doing something wrong. We're doing something very wrong. So what do we do? How do we do better? What can we change? Can we change anything, or are we just totally screwed? If we were totally screwed, I probably wouldn't do this, or I would just admit, like, yeah, dude, we're totally screwed. And then I would bitch and whine and get drunk on Diet Pepsi because it's the best thing to get drunk on. Here's what we need to change. Ready, ladies? This is for you. As it turns out, women volunteer more. And the funny thing is, since I can see who's listening, I know that a lot of us are dumbass volunteers. We volunteer more because we want to be nice Disney princesses, probably. I know, we love our kids, all that shit. But yeah, we volunteer more, which means we donate our time. And guess what? We do the same thing at work. We don't ask to be paid for things. We don't expect to be paid for things. Out of the kindness of our heart, it's like we somehow believe that the more good we do for free, the more we will get rewarded later. Studies show nope. Nope, doesn't work like that. I'm not going to volunteer any less for certain things, but I'm also not going to expect to get paid for things that I volunteer to do for free. You know, that whole cow milk thing, like with sex, it actually applies when it comes to work and volunteering. Also, even if you don't volunteer, women, you are more likely to get asked to help on things than a man is, because it seems like on some level your time is less important. And that is true regardless of if your boss is a male or a female. Return to, we are screwing ourselves with our covert aggression rather than supporting other women. Number 2, we as a whole do not ask for more. If someone says, hey, can you stay after and work on this project, or can you help Bill with his statistics report? I'm just throwing in things that I know nothing about. We say yes, but we're less likely to ask for financial payment in return. Imagine you're working a minimum wage job and you clocked out and your boss says, oh, wait, can you organize the spice rack? It's been a long time. I've worked a lot of minimum wage jobs, but I don't remember what a good example would be. A woman is more likely to say sure without clocking back in, whereas a man would not. This applies to any sort of job. If, let's say, you help someone on a project and they get a promotion in part as a result of that project, most women would not remember to bring that up at a request for a pay increase, if you are even going to ask for a pay increase. We don't ask for more. My husband has it in his head. I mean, he works for the state, but he understands the fact and has drilled into me the fact that every X amount of months or years or whatever, you bring up the issue of a raise with your boss. How many of you women have ever voluntarily brought up the issue of a raise for your boss? Do you just wait for it to come around? And if you do have the balls, I'm going to use the word balls, I still like it. If you do have the balls to bring up, hey, I've been doing this for a while and I haven't gotten a raise, do you walk in there with solid facts? Are you prepared to argue? Or is it, well, this isn't a good time for the company? Do you just sort of, shirk, slurk, crawl out of there? I used to get emotional because I thought that my asking to be worth more. was something that I was doing wrong. And it made me feel badly. But it shouldn't. This should be what we as women are trained to do, to ask for compensation that we deserve. And by the way, as we get better at our jobs, the longer we do it, the more money we're worth. About a year ago, I raised my prices $10, $10. Hadn't raised my cost, in quite a while. And it like physically pained me to do something. I started by putting a sign on the door so I wouldn't have to talk about it. And then I talked about it. And then there were some people that I let slide for a week or two. Why? I'm really good at what I do and I'm worth more. And if you're listening to this, you're probably really good at what you do and you know you're worth more too. We need to do a better job asking and also knowing our worth. And knowing our work is totally different. So I didn't write down the year, but I think it was 2012. They asked the women, a bunch of women in a Ivy League class of MBA graduates, how they arrived at their salary, at their accepted job upon leaving graduation. They discovered that 47% of women who had just graduated from a prestigious MBA university, probably prestigious undergrad, 47% of them negotiated before accepting an offer. So 47% of them were given a number and thought about it and went, nope, how about this number? I don't have a record of how many times they negotiated, but I would bet my ass that of these 47%, not very many negotiated twice because we're scared of losing the offer. We're not trained to barter, to banter. And even as lawyers or, like an MBA degree, like this is what you should be trained for. Only 47% did it. Guess what happened the second time at the second job they switched to? When there was another opportunity to decide on salary, 31% negotiated an offer then, which really makes me sad because it makes me wonder if that 47% number was only because some good, solid advisors at the graduate program who I don't care if it's women or men. I want someone kicking us women in the ass. I don't care what their gender is. But I think that there was an advisor that encouraged them to negotiate. Why don't we negotiate? Why don't we ask for more than what we're worth? Why are we so desperate that we take the first offer as though our vagina or our ability to conceive or our gender or the fact that we look better in the skirts is going to work against us? Instead, we take what we're given or we shut down negotiations very quickly. That sucks. Point number 4 is seek out promotions. We need to seek out promotions, regardless of how old we are, how pregnant we are, how married we are, how engaged we are, all of those things. There have been so many times that I have listened to women that I've worked with, because I have worked largely with women, and we have discussed the fact that, well, how soon after a baby can you ask for a promotion? Or how soon before you go on maternity leave? Or I just had a baby and now I'm going on vacation in 4 months, so I'll ask to get paid more when I come back. That's crap. Yes, we decide to have a baby, but we also decide to have a job. And unless you're slacking on your job, either because of your baby or because you're just bad at your job, you still deserve to ask for a promotion. You still deserve to negotiate your salary. I don't care how old your child or children or 8,000 children are. Your ability to conceive is different than your ability to succeed at work. And we forget this. And so women of a certain age are less likely to ask for a promotion. We're less like, I think the age is 28 to, I want to say 38, but I think it's older than that now. I think it's like 28 to 42. We are statistically less likely to switch jobs. And by the way, the best way to succeed in any field is by switching jobs with a certain degree of frequency so that you're jumping around, gaining skills. And soon enough, you gain like this, rather than staying at one job and trying to go up a ladder. Because I think when you try to go up a ladder, they still remember you as that bottom rung intern asshole who didn't know anything and wasn't worthy of a promotion. But you're not that person anymore. So between 28 and 42, women are significantly less likely to ask for a promotion if they have recently, I think it's within a year, reached certain life stages, gotten engaged, gotten married. I know women who have kept their engagement a secret because they were afraid that it would prevent them from getting properly promoted. They were probably right, but we're still, it's a collaborative process. We are doing this to ourselves by allowing our conception or ability to conceive or possibility to conceive to factor in. Number 5 of the things that you can change. Start bragging about yourself. I mean, that's what an interview is, right? You're supposed to go in there and brag about yourself, but not like too much bragging. You're supposed to have like a humble brag. I can guarantee you when my husband goes for an interview, there's no humble brag there. It's a bold ass, like, this is what I can do. This is what I do well. And here's why I would be a good fit for this job. We all need to brag like that about ourselves. Because if you don't believe that you're good at something or that you deserve a promotion, who else will? And as women, we're more likely to take that group approach, like, well, it was a team effort. Was it a team effort or did you do all the work? What is it? Was it a team effort or was it your creative idea that some people helped execute when you told them exactly what they should do? I don't have the answer. But I know that through the course of my life, there have been plenty of times where I didn't take credit. I didn't ask for a promotion. I don't like discussing money. This guy tried to sell us life insurance. He did sell us life insurance, but a few years ago. And I asked not to sit in on the meeting. And he goes, well, don't you want to know what happens if your husband died? And I said, I'll get remarried and someone else will handle the bills. And that's a fine haha joke for my private life. But for my job as a psychologist, as a writer, as a podcaster, as a businesswoman, no. I mean, I still don't want to do my bills, but I have to talk about money. Otherwise, I shouldn't expect to get paid more than I am because I'm not worth it. There are things you can do, ladies, to increase your worth. Just to review, stop volunteering and don't always say yes when someone asks you to volunteer for something. Volunteering is giving away your money and your time, and it takes away from your worth. If you're going to get paid for something, fine. Always be willing to do a job that you get paid for. But don't volunteer. It makes you feel less, and it makes other people see you as less. Number 2, ask for more. Ask for more. What's the worst they can say? No. And God forbid someone's dumb enough to say, no, you just had a baby or you just got engaged. Oof. I got a lawyer or two for you there. Number 3, ask and ask again. Don't be that MBA student who's all full of, vigor and pomp and circumstance that first year and tries to negotiate, but gives up on it the second year. No. Ask and ask again. The worst they can say is no. And if they keep saying no, if they keep declining your requests for advancement or a pay raise or greater responsibility or an opportunity to prove your worth, then they're not the right place for you. They're not the right fit. And if they keep saying no, they're never going to say yes. So get out of there and find some place that does believe in you. Number 4, seek out promotions, regardless of your ability to fertilize an egg. I mean, I've said it 8,000 ways, but I think fertilize an egg is the best. Number 5, start bragging about yourself to your colleagues, to your superiors, to your superiors' superiors. I'm in private practice and I feel like I'm very good at what I do. And I say it because someone has to. I don't have a boss. I just have me, which means that I have to decide when I'm worth more. I have to decide how to negotiate, sliding scale payments or shit with insurance companies. And it's all on me, which makes it better and worse. In theory, I have more control of it, but I also have to overcome all of these issues. And again, if 75% of psychologists are women, and we've still got this ridiculous $40,000 dollar difference in what men are making and what we're making, we're doing something wrong, like a lot wrong. So this is a start of the stuff that we need to start talking about. And what came to mind the reason this all came about is I was talking with a very good friend of mine. If you don't follow her, you should. Her name is Samantha Rodman, or Dr. Psych Mom. She has a newsletter. She handles a variety of interesting populations. She is a badass woman. And when we were discussing, fees and how to handle all these things, she's in Bethesda, Maryland, or Rockville, Maryland, whatever. If you're looking for a shrink, she is it, particularly dealing with children's issues or relationship issues. And we started realizing that it had taken both of us a long time to overcome our fears about being a woman in business, never mind a woman who owns her own business. So we decided it was time to start putting together some webinars. And webinars where we get paid. And want to know what the toughest part was when I was thinking about this? How much should I ask for? And you know what I decided? The cost of the webinar is going to be what I'm worth. It's going to be what I'm worth because if I get you one new patient or one new client, you've already made your money back, probably times 2. So I'm going to talk about the webinar, but first I want to say if anyone has any questions, you can type it in, or you all know how to reach out to me and we can discuss it like for real. Anything I can do to help you, either as a man, realize how distorted this business world is, or as a woman, anything that I can clarify or help explain, please do so. If you're a woman in the health or mental health field and you want to know more about this, I am doing a webinar on Wednesday, January 15th. It starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to sort of be like this, but you have to pay, and then I send you a link, and then we've got plenty of time to talk after, which I still have time to talk after this. It is going to be $50 because I'm worth it. It still feels scary to say that, but I am. And it's going to run roughly 90 minutes. If we need to go over with the Q&A, we go over. I don't really care. And I put my children to sleep before this. Things that will be discussed in this webinar, if you are interested, I'm going to teach you how to negotiate for yourself. I'm going to teach you good negotiation skills and unproductive negotiation skills. I'm going to tell you what you do wrong. If you want, you can tell me about your last promotion that you either did or did not get, and we'll go through it together. We'll use it as a case example. It depends how many people we get. I'm also going to teach you how to determine your worth in numbers. It would be so great if there was some sort of system where we could like the BMI, but for worth. What am I worth? What should I charge? There isn't, and don't listen to whatever your insurance company tells you if you're a therapist or a doctor trying to go through insurance, which is a whole other issue. I am going to tell you about why I take insurance, when I take insurance, and what I'm willing to tolerate from insurance companies. We're also going to discuss sliding scales. As a therapist, and I take 2 insurances, but not many more, if I think I'm going to be a good fit with a patient, I'm willing to work out a sliding scale system with them. My full fee is $160 for 45 minutes. It's $200 for the initial, and that will be going up at some point in the next probably 3 to 6 months, shortly after the book comes out, I believe. Why? Because I deserve it, and because I'm good at what I do, and I'm only getting better as I age. But how do you figure out, if you want to work with someone and they can't afford you, how do you figure out how much to charge? We're going to talk about that too, because it's important. It's not just mental health workers. It's tutors or personal trainers. I imagine it also goes for, I don't know, pretty much anyone, particularly if you're in a neighborhood that is a very high cost of life. How do you decide when to adjust that cost of life? And by how much? Because trust me, if you do it too much, you will resent it and regret it. I'm going to discuss advertising for all businesses, sort of do's and don'ts. I am going to discuss how you find your niche, and if you find a niche, are you stuck with it, or does life get to change, and do you get to change? Spoiler alert, you get to change. My current niche that I've sort of fallen into as a result of a series of stumbles and fortuitous events is I work with teenagers, a lot of who are severely anxious, depressed, and suicidal. And it's a good niche for me because I'm not overreactive, which is surprising because I used to be pretty damn anxious. But I stumbled into my niche, and now that I've found it, how do I get the word out? We'll talk about that too. Other ways to make money besides what you do in your office. I don't care if you're a therapist or a PR person or a sports marketing person. That's a real thing that kids are really into, by the way. There are ways that you can make money outside of your actual job, barring non-compete clauses, and even then, there's ways around that. So, other ways to make money: speaking engagements, freelance writing, consultation or supervision opportunities. They're all out there. You just have to take advantage of them. It's a fine line between wanting to, like, I want you to make money in your main job. I want you to succeed and get paid what you're worth and feel good at the end of the day, because even if you're tired, you have been fulfilled emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financially. You should go home with a full wallet or a full heart. But there's also other opportunities that some of us don't take advantage of. It applies to women and men. So if you're a man, you certainly are going to be able to benefit from what I'm going to say at this webinar. And if you're a woman, I think you may feel less pressure to make that extra money, which is fine, assuming that your husband lives forever and always supports you. But it feels really good to be able to find other ways to show myself that I'm worth more financially. Oh, your kids are never going to understand, ladies. No, don't look for that. But always demand more, always try more. And if you are interested in learning more, if you are interested in possibly participating in the webinar, if you have any questions, I'm really looking forward to this. This will be my first webinar attempt. And I'm excited because I think I have a lot to share. Also, in the future, I believe Dr. Psychmom, aka Samantha Rodman, and I will be working together on certain webinars. We'll delve into certain specialty niches and how to deal with that. Working with non-monogamous couples, working with patients that identify as non-binary genders, and we are also going to rope my husband, who is a forensic psychologist / expert witness, into providing some information for anyone that's looking into that field. So thank you guys for spending some time with me and for listening. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please ask. And if you love me, like me, or even tolerate me, I would adore you if you shared this on your Facebook page and or passed on this information to anyone who is interested, because I definitely want money in my pocket, but I also think it's important for us to start a movement so that we, as women and as therapists, are all helping each other out. Last pitch. I forgot this. On March 20th, 2020, my book, 10 Steps to Finding Happy, is coming out in association with the United Nations International Day of Happiness. And we also want to use the book launch as a way to destigmatize mental illness, make it more acceptable for people to talk about feeling crappy so that we keep our teenagers alive, because that's key. And if you like podcasts and or know what one is, be sure to tune into Neurotic Nourishment and listen to me talk to badass women and amazing, talented, popular parenting experts. We recently interviewed Tina Bryson of The Whole Brain Child and Carla Nomberg of How to Stop Losing Your Shit with Your Kids. So lots going on. I'm happy to share. And thanks for listening, stopping by. Bye.